slip into our next session immediately. May I request you to kindly stay back for us? And I have been indicated that our next session speakers, which is about the beauty, cosmetics, and personal care, where we'll talk about how innovation meets identity. We are very privileged to have with us very renowned people or people from the industry who are going to share their notes with us, just like our previous session. May I request Ms. Nikita Rustagi, the Regional Director, Centdegrés, to kindly join us onto the stage. May I quickly request Ms. Nikita Rustagi to join us onto the stage. Thank you so much, Nitika. Nitika is also the moderator of the session. Thank you, Nitika, for taking our time. May I request Nalini Kalra, who is the GM Personal Care and Home Care H&F, to kindly join us onto the stage. Nalini Kalra, who is the General Manager Personal Care and Home Care Hindustan Foods Limited. Good morning, warm welcome. May I now request Mr. Pranav Bhardwaj from Innovation, who is the Innovation Leader, Care and Beauty, Skin Maison Magadh. May I request Mr. Pranav Bhardwaj to kindly join us. And may we also invite on stage Vikrant Rana. Mr. Vikrant Rana is the Managing Partner at SS Rana and Company. Warm welcome to you. And we are also being joined by Mr. Saurav Patnaik, who is the co-founder and CEO Anveya Living Private Limited. Is Mr. Saurav Patnaik here? We request you to kindly join us in that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a session about beauty, cosmetic, and personal care. And this is also about how we're going to speak about how innovation meets identity, differentiating brands through formulations, IP, and packaging to the execution. Over to the moderator of the session.
I don't need this tool. This is fun. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Hello. First of all, thank you all for joining us for this session. I'm Nikita Rustagi. I'm the Regional Director for Centdegrés. Today's session, I would say it's quite insightful. I do a lot of panel discussions with CMPL. And इस बार सोचा थोड़ा हटके session करते हैं. Everyone talks about innovation. It's quite trending in the entire food industry, beauty industry, etc. So, innovation, of course, is the driving force behind differentiation. But what about protecting that innovation and using it as a strategic advantage for your brand? That's something which we really want to cover today. So, talking about groundbreaking formulations to creating a unique IP through branding, packaging, leveraging patents to, of course, create some strategic strength for your brand. Even in Vogue, last year, Vogue had talked about how IP and patents are the new secret weapon for the beauty and personal care industry. So this session will explore how brands can successfully navigate the complexities of IP and patent protection while fostering innovation. So we have a powerful panel here. I would say everyone who are coming with decades of expertise from the legal point of view, from the branding point of view, and from the formulation point of view. So I would really request the audience to take advantage of this session and ask as many questions as you can. So let's talk about the whole concept of innovation. Like I said, innovation today is all about differentiating your brand. It's about how do you meet the customer in the best way possible also. So from product formulations to packaging and technology, what I would like to ask the panelists today is how do you see or how do you perceive innovation in the space that you have been working in, and how do you see this really redefining consumer expectations? So Nalini, we can start with you.
Hi, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I think when it comes to innovation, I'm talking from a manufacturing perspective. And honestly, I think what really matters is the story that the client wants to say. So for us, it's we manufacture, but we have to be pushed to come up with something different, something innovative, and work very closely with what the vision of the client is. And I think it's very important to have a specific idea in mind. It's very easy. Lots of people come and say कि हमको launch करना है skincare brand, for example, right? But if you don't have anything particular in mind or a definitive story, I think it's very difficult because skincare में बहुत है. If you want to just be a Me Too brand, then to sustain will not be practical. So we've seen people who come, launch a product, and after that we don't hear from them. So I think it's very important that one has to be very clear, and you have to have a long-term vision. Like short-term में कुछ नहीं होता है. I think right now the focus is a lot on clean and green and all that in terms of skincare and beauty. So I think the focus has to be very clear, and ideally we work closely with the client, but I feel that has to come. For us, typically we expect it to come from the client end. Then we're willing to work on formulations, we have a strong R&D, so we're willing to do all that, but the brief has to be very clear and crisp from the client.
Great. Now, from the client's perspective, Saurav, maybe you can add in a few points.
Yeah. So, see, I'm like a first-time entrepreneur for a beauty brand. So exactly when you asked me कि clear brief, I want a clear brief. So खुद को नहीं पता होता यार. हाँ. So typically an entrepreneur is looking at is, yeah, I'm gonna do something that's gonna make a difference. I'm gonna be popular. I'm gonna be on the Forbes list, and and he's looking at making money out there. Okay, that's the mindset that guy is coming in with. So typically, the things that he's imagining is not exactly innovation, but the outcome of something that's going to happen probably 5 or 10 years later. Okay, big difference in what was happening when we started Thrive back in 2019-20, and the way we look at things today. There's a huge difference. Right now, we have a product team. Okay. We have a product team which is trying to imagine things in the future, who's doing an application engineering, who's looking at innovations, who's looking at they're trying to predict what's going to happen in the future. So one of the key things that we have realized is you can't think for today. Okay? If you are sitting here today and you want to say, I want to do something that is trendy or cool today, it's not going to be cool. So you are pressurized, pushed to think about perso. So that's where your brains have to be put in, and you have to innovate. There's no excuse. Copying people would just not work. Okay. So yeah.
Great. Now, furthermore on innovation, we have someone who led the innovation department at L'Oreal. So, Pranav, your insights.
Hello, everybody. The innovation is, I would say, when we see the market today, it's filled with many brands, and they are coming each and every day. So even from survival of a brand point of view, we have to innovate to differentiate themselves for their consumer. So when we see how the things were at L'Oreal, we have a segment of, we have consumers everywhere in the world, and each and everybody's need is very different. Like you think of a skin problem and you will find at least 10 lakh people somewhere, and the product will not be the same when you think of the person who is in Africa or in China. So innovation will be based on the formula, taking into account how the consumer is there. So there is innovation at that level. Then it comes to whether the formula is there, it is safe or not. So that safety is always in the mind of it, because my background was in R&D for a long time. So safety comes first. As a responsible brand, every brand wants to be the superstar, but superstar will also include how you perceive your consumers' need. So that innovation will make you a product that is safer than others, and that will be a window for you. Not just you, but in general, any brand.
No, that is true. I mean, I think we learned it late.
Yes.
हाथ पर छिलवाने के बाद हमारे को बुद्धि आई. But yes.
So recently I was working with a medical. So I moved to India around 4 years back, and then there are people who have been trying to create niche in this beauty and skincare market. So there is one group which is in medical care, but they have an excellent ingredient. Now it has to be put into market, and it has never been done before. So how do we do innovation? Should it be done outside India, or can it be done inside India? If we do innovation, should the product will be just good, or consumer will be listened while we develop this formulation? So that innovation, where we integrate the consumer in the innovation process, that was developed at L'Oreal, and I have implemented this thing at the group in Delhi. Another thing is, I would say, any consumer, when we talk about innovation, they see the product and packaging. Even the brand, the manufacturer, they don't know how this formula is different from the other one. That is the challenge. So how do you impress your consumer? There it comes the where Nikita has been very I would say vocal and very at the forefront, where you communicate the advantages of your product, not just efficacy wise, but also emotional aspect of it, the design aspect of it. So innovation, that, as we say, it comes from formulation, it comes from safety, it comes from ingredient in the market that we source from all over the world. But to consumer, it comes first as a packaging and branding thing.
I want to add one thing to what he said. I think it's very true. The product and the brand has to have an emotional connect with people. That's when the chances of it sustaining are a lot more.
Absolutely,
Hey,
absolutely.
see, I think, I think, so in terms of the emotional connect, I mean, it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, it takes a very, very long time. Okay. If I'm not registering in front of the customer, it's not going to fly. So we've tried a lot of, I'll give you an example. We've done some brilliant innovations probably 3 years back, and saying that, hey, you know what, I'm so committed to this product that I'm not going to take the traditional wisdom. So I'll give you an example. We did a pre-shampoo for dandruff. Okay. We went ahead and we were so obsessive. We made a molecule out of it. We called it Zen Scalpin. I'm going to sit with you separately, huh? So he had a lot of lessons for me कि सौरभ हल्ला नहीं करते हैं बिना पेटेंट लिए, चुपचाप रहो. मैंने कहा shit, पता नहीं था. So we did all of that, and we said कि wow, this is so cool. You know, we've got this fantastic innovation that you can use any shampoo you'd like, and you don't need to compromise on the shampoo, and you don't have to jump to a regular dandruff shampoo. So you apply it and you use any shampoo, and it's going to give you the results. No, it never flew. And this year we've launched an anti-dandruff shampoo. So a lot of times we are ahead of the market, and it's very easy to, especially for the brand, you get entrapped in a halo. हाँ हाँ सर सही बोल रहे हो, हाँ हाँ यही होगा, ठीक है. So innovation has to be somewhere balanced out. I mean, I don't know. I don't possess the entire skill set. I'm trying to learn.
I will add one thing here. We were talking to Surf some time back, and he said innovation doesn't happen in silos. Very true for today. Like, you can't hide anything from the consumer. And if you want to give something real, you have to work with academia, research lab. You have to work with the patent people who save you for whatever calamity you may face after 10 years into the business. And the innovation, definitely, like, we are all there. The manufacturing process has the most, like I would say, number of innovation, and sometimes the groundbreaking innovation. So it has to be like done as a team,
No, I think agreed. ले लिया मैंने appointment. हाँ.
I don't think Nikita is going to get a chance to say anything.
No, it's fine. So my next question actually was for the audience. Before we jump to Vikrant, I wanted to know how many of you are brand owners here? Oh, very few. And how many are you working with brands? Okay. Have you done any sort of IP for your brand itself? Trademarking? You have. Okay. Patents? No? Okay. So I think Vikrant is then the right person to speak. So, Vikrant, thank you for joining us for this session. So, my question to you is, see, the beauty industry is growing at a very, very fast pace, and it's quite a crowded market here. Everyone's looking at differentiation either in formulation, just in terms of packaging, branding, just to stand out of the crowd, right? So, in your perspective, how do IP and patents really help play a role in brand differentiation? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Nikita. First of all, I'm quite surprised that no patent has been filed from this audience. So, for innovation for me would be a product differentiator. How do you differentiate your product, and how do you protect that differentiation? If you were able to differentiate on packaging, the name, or the content, the formulation, are you protecting that or not? Because that is where IP would come in, and IP would be, like you said, save money. You mentioned save money. IP would be there to make money for you. It's not just saving you, but it'll make you money because that's a competition barrier. You're able to keep out people from getting into that same domain if you have a patent on that, if you have a design on that. So innovation, for example, on the cosmetic side could be as simple as the design of a bottle. YSL, if you talk about YSL, it's the design. Apple is design. You pick up a product because of the design also. So that's a very important element. The second would be the formulations. Patent, how you have derived that particular product. Have you filed a patent for that or not? So that patent would be a monopoly right for you for 20 years. And you can also take that patent to a different country, file all over the world where you would have a target market, or you think there is a entity which might be willing to license it or buy it out. So you have, it's not just about making a product yourself, but it could also be to license it out. So patent would be definitely there. And then we have the design element. Design is already spoken. I did speak about that. Innovation could be as simple as, like we were discussing that day, was the pouch introduced by Calvin Klein. The shampoo pouch. It was not there. It was innovative, but then could they protect it? They couldn't protect that particular pouch. So we should be looking at innovation which we can protect, create a barrier for competition, and that would help us to maximize, monetize that particular thing. A recent example, in fact, we worked on that matter, was the Absolute vodka. If you've seen the flavored vodka bottles, so you can see the flavor. It's in the background. You can't see otherwise, but if you see the background, the color would indicate the flavor of the product. So that was filed as a design in India also. So you need to be creative to have that product differentiator, to have the customer come to you because you stand up. And this is where IP would help you to stand up.
Great. And more from a legal perspective, how does IP protect you, let's say, in terms of design or brand naming from a customer's perspective? Like if you look at it, because it's more about how customers perceive the brand, right? So if you can throw some light on that. Yeah.
So from a legal and a customer base, I see the trademark is the first point of contact for a customer. He will look at, I want to buy an Apple phone or a particular product. I'm giving example of Apple here. And the second thing is the design. He will look at the design of the product. The bottle, the cosmetic bottle, that would stay in his memory. How he can recall that. So we are working. So it is also part of the advertisement for the brand recall to have that kind of a differentiator. So design would come in playing a big role for that. So design would be the second point of contact for a customer. And third is the patents. So customer is not, you say I have a new formulation, it'll work, or how it functions, it could be there, but he wouldn't know till he tries it. But to come and to make him to come and pick up that bottle would be the trademark and the design which will help you to pick it up. So therefore, it is, like I said, it's imperative. We should be looking at not just filing trademarks, but looking at the product differentiator as the bottle, the product, and the formulations also, which can be protected, very well protected in India. Indian market, from the IP perspective, We are filing almost 500,000 applications, 5 lakh applications on trademarks, and 97% is local filing. So we can see how the IP ecosystem is working. And whereas for patents, we have only 1 lakh patents filed in India, and 52% is local filing, and which is still, I would say, startups, universities, because they need to have UGC ranking, are there. And designs are only 26,000. So there's a huge potential. Personally, I think the design would be a big differentiator for the SMEs, because the trademark plus the design would create that differentiator for you, and really make it, good for the brand itself.
Yeah.
I just want to add one thing. I think sometimes when it's a startup, they may not be able to invest a lot in the packaging. So if they, they cannot spend on a mold or something, but you can still differentiate, like you mentioned for vodka. Sometimes even the labeling being different makes all the difference, right? Like we were talking the other day, if you look at minimalist or you look at ordinary, they're not fancy labels, right? But in some ways they stand out because maybe they're clean labels, there's a different look and feel. So it still becomes a brand identity, and it doesn't have to be very expensive packaging for that to happen.
Totally. So in fact, labels can be filed as trademarks. So labels or the trade dress, even the color combination you are using, that can be protected as a trademark. And trademark, you need not even file a trademark to protect it. The issue is tomorrow when you need to prove it in a court of law, then it helps for its evidentiary value. So we suggest that if you can, and there are a lot of schemes for the startups to file government subsidy up to 80% of their official fees reduced. You don't have to pay the lawyer if you come under a startup scheme. There are MSME schemes also for patent filings in India and outside. So a lot of schemes are coming. So we should be looking at using that to file and create that differentiator.
Great.
So I think one of the things that I've always had the questions, it wasn't more of a question which came to us as a statement. So whenever we were in the market to raise money, we've done this innovation, and we've done the clinicals, and look at the output. Of course, the guy on the other side of the table doesn't understand that and says कि सौरभ यार formulation कुछ नहीं होता, हाँ, और तुम जाओ मैन्युफैक्चरर के पास, जो देता है वो वही होता है, ठीक है. और दूसरा चीज़ यार, हम पेटेंट करना चाहते हैं, और क्या पेटेंट क्या होता है यार, and when somebody on the other side is like worth 15-20,000 crores of rupees saying all of that, we will take it like words from the god, and wherein we like, yeah, maybe that's what the reality is, wherein they say that if you've put 10% of this, if I do 11% of that, your patent is broken. And so that's, I think a lot has to be done from your side.
Right.
Education chahiye hum log ko.
No, I think that's a very valid point. So, but again, it can work both ways. So VCs would look at your patent portfolio. How many trademarks, patent designs have you filed? What is because I would invest in a company if they have the barrier to competition.
US में होता है,
यहाँ पे भी होता है. We are advancing. So that will be the differentiator.
The money VCs would be fun if you have the portfolio, and they obviously would do an IP audit also. Different kind of people would be invested. But if you're looking at a big ticket, it would come in there.
Big ticket ही होता है.
I will just add one thing. इंडिया में बहुत सारे ब्रिज बनते हैं और टूट जाते हैं. जब तक नहीं टूट रहे थे तब तक चल रहा था. जब टूटने लगे तो सिमिलरली विथ योर प्रोडक्ट, अभी तो चल रहा है. पता चला कोई इश्यू आ गया, and then there is a committee. There is an investor who has like, नहीं यार ऐसे नहीं चलता, मुझे दूसरे ब्रांड के पास जाना पड़ेगा. So these things might happen.
But that shouldn't stop you.
Along the journey. So this is a small sum that we put. I don't say that you just the first amount that you get put in the IP in. But as he said, there are government supports that we can use if we are going even bigger scale in international markets. That is essential. You have to have that to go to the international markets. And at that stage, I don't know, you call it series B, C, and E. This has to be done to be there in the market for long term.
Very true, very true. I'm a believer, so हाँ मैं अपने लिए नहीं pitch मार रहा हूँ. हाँ, but from others' point of view, यार इतने पैसे खर्च करूँगा, पर यार ROI कहाँ है? ठीक है? आप हम बोलेंगे यार इतने पैसे तूने खर्च करा दिए, फिर इसके बाद क्या?
पहला इनोवेशन पैकेजिंग में करते हैं.
अरे वो भी हम
उसके बाद-
कराते हैं. अरे ये मजा नहीं आया, हटाओ इसको.
But you were talking about the range, that I have put 10%. The composition is 10, 33, 43, whatever, coming to 100. So when you file a patent, you don't give the exact ratio of the formulation. So you'll give a range. It'll be like 5 to 15%. So you are not disclosing what is the right ratio for the formulation. So that way you give range for all the different 3-4 products, and you can still hide which is the actually optimum formula on which would work. So there are ways to use that system, but you need to have a professional to guide you on that itself.
Clearly.
For example, L'Oreal, I think they made the color shampoo. New product, totally like it addresses 1 billion people, and if they don't think protecting it by patent, anybody can make that. The technology is there they know which research institute they have worked with. So any new brand can go and work with them and make the same formula. L'Oreal knows this. So first, they talk to the professor who will hold the IP. They patent it, and then they go into the market. So when we talk about innovation, doing innovation is one thing, but protecting it, utilizing it, I would say taking it to another level for your consumer, because actually they are the actually payers of your business. We think that there are so many people help us set up the business, but ultimately it's the consumer's price. So if that is your baseline of any business, that how I can protect or save or help or how to say aspire my consumer, these things are the tools of it, I would say.
And if you don't file patents, the financial strength of any big entity, they can just walk over you, and that would be to break the competition. Would be to file a patent. So tomorrow they cannot use the same technology or the formulation there.
So I think I get that bit. So I think we overwhelmed with when Pranav says कि this is how L'Oreal does it. यार उसका R&D budget is 1.2 billion dollars. उतनी तो पूरे ब्यूटी इंडस्ट्री की हमारी रेवेन्यू नहीं होगी. ओके तो यार वहां पे तुम 20,000 फीट से जब तुम बोलते हो अच्छा लगता है, you're pretty. हाँ but no, but what I'm trying to say is, we get I think my eyes opened up when the case between L'Oreal and Olaplex happened, and we actually saw a $400 million case being won by the smaller guy. Okay, that gave us hope. Okay, तो with
एक जैसे मैंने बात की, एक मेडटेक ब्रांड, एक मेडिकल ग्रुप है जो कि नीश हाई परफॉर्मेंस स्किन केयर प्रोडक्ट बना रहा है, रॉ मटेरियल बना रहा है, and he has a very niche market of sizable business, and he can't move ahead without the IP. And I help them with the formulation. They are in the process of filing the patent. I will give you contact, but they can't move ahead, and it's not a big business, like big amount for them. They know their market, they know their budget. If the need be, they will put into it. So like in many mass market brands where we focus more on the ingredient, the concentration, the texture, the packaging, you don't need to, because we are just mixing and matching different ingredients. But the moment you try to enhance the performance by changing the structure, adding some perfume that was not there before, and it is safe, that you have to protect. So whenever something very new, it's good to innovate and protect. But if something that is people are used to it, we are just taking them to another level, we don't need it. Then we go to the series A level of funding, and then we go for IP and all.
perfect. I think I got to know Pranav late in my life. But that's true. I mean, हम लोगों को तो डर लगता. We would be overwhelmed that कि यार I can approach a Pranav and ask कि यार change my life. But I think we must be more courageous to approach people like Pranav and say कि what can be done, advices.
Great. I think this is the first panel discussion which really doesn't need a moderator. So, which is good and bad in a way for me, but it's okay. So now talking about the formulation side, okay. So the market is fully crowded with standardized formulations, and now we see this whole movement of like biotechnology in skincare. We are seeing things like proprietary ingredients. People are investing in R&D, but at the same time, there's this whole clash of we need to go to market quickly. So, from a perspective of formulation, I think Nalini, maybe you can also. We'll start with you. I want to know what is the best way to kind of balance the whole legal aspect, the R&D aspect, the whole marketing aspect to help brands go to market quickly.
I don't think I can say much about the legal aspect considering he's sitting here, so I'll let him handle that. But in terms of going to market, I think I'm realizing not just the new brands, not just the newly launched or wanting to launch brands, even the established bigger brands, even the MNCs, I think, are realizing you cannot spend a few years of R&D and all before you go to market, because the D2C brands are bringing in new stuff much faster, right? So we are being approached even by regular established brands that when they want to launch something new, they're okay to come to us even for private label, not that it has to be contract manufacturing, which used to be the case earlier. So I think that difference is definitely happening. We work closely with anybody, whether it be a startup, whether it be established brands, and there's a lot of back and forth in terms of our R&D giving input. Again, like I said earlier, it depends on the story that the client is wanting to convey, but clients have to be patient in the sense instant result nahi dikhega, so it will take a while. So I think very often brands, or like we've noticed, brands launch and then they disappear because they thought that one launch they will see mega bucks coming in and all. I don't think that happens. It takes a while, but I think the reality is in today's day and age, people are open to trying new stuff. People are open to to it being an interesting story or interesting sell in terms of whether it's clean beauty, whether it's sustainability, which is common these days being used, whether it's natural or organic. So I think everybody is wanting to try all this. So I think it's a great opportunity, and we work very closely with brands to try and make that happen and make it as quick to market as possible. So we do R&D, we do stability, we do accelerated stability so that people can bring the product out as soon as possible.
Thanks. So go-to-market is always a challenge, because for SMEs, startups, they just want to rush to the market, and fairly so. I mean, they want to have the ROI started immediately. So there are sufficient provisions in law. Obviously, trademark you can file immediately. But for patents, coming to patents, there's a provision for a provisional application. So I've started something. I've started some research. My R&D team is working on it. So I can file an application without having a prototype, without having a detailed parameters, ratios of formulation. I have a basic idea that this is what I'll do, and the minute you can, within that scope, you can file that application, and you have 1 year to complete that application.
नहीं पता था.
So it's not that you cannot. You have to wait for the patent, and you don't have to wait for the patent to be granted. The crucial thing is the filing date. The minute you file your application, you are safe. And you're not safe in India, you're safe world over, in the sense that there is a provision that you can take that application outside India also within 12 months, or if you apply for a PCT by 30 months. So, and anybody who started using or filed a patent after you, even on the next day, you are seeing it. So it is very critical that if we are doing some R&D, we should immediately file a patent application. The way we can, first thing, and then we can work on the details and file that complete application within 12 months. So you have enough time to work on that, and you have put your foot in the door. You can block the technology, and you can start telling people also that we have filed a patent. It is pending patent. So that would add to the value for you also.
I think it's also credibility, no? It makes a difference in terms of credibility of the product.
More professional, because you would be taken as more professional, that you're filing and protecting IP. They'll be scared. And obviously, when you're talking to people, please ensure that you have NDAs when you talk. When you haven't done your patent filing, or even if you have done your patent filing, still it's imperative. An NDA need not be with a third party. You start with NDAs with your employees. That is where the biggest leakage would be. So employees, then your vendors and clients, all three have to be with proper NDAs there.
I just want to ask one thing. When you're saying with your employees and all, if somebody snitches, is it like, legally in this country, how effective is it that you can do something about it?
No, you can do. I mean, certainly you can. It may not be a straightforward thing, but if circumstantially you can prove that this has happened, he had the knowledge and he was one of the closer teams to do that, and there's an NDA agreement there with them.
It's probably a deterrent more than
It will
anything
be more
else.
for deterrent, but that is important also.
But is it executable? No. Yes.
That's what I
You
wonder.
can.
That's a catch.
I mean, if circumstantially you can prove that, you can do that. And even if you, I would still recommend file a case to have a deterrent for the rest of the team and the others also. Will you succeed or not, that'll be up there, but deterrent is very crucial everywhere.
Yeah, I think
To enforce
one of the
stuff.
I think one of the first things that you should do. I don't know if you have a podcast. I don't know if you have a channel. Shoot a video. Keep it out there on YouTube. Have the top searches. मैं ब्रांड खोलना चाहता हूँ तो मुझे पहले क्या करना चाहिए.
But I think it's important because I think people who start, like he said, when you start, you don't have a clue, right? So you're just focusing on go to market. That's the catch, yeah.
So you need to. So I'm sorry again. Startup India, the government started 2016. So they have a list of IP lawyers on the IP India website. And if you have the DPIT certificate from the government of India, you can approach any lawyer, and they are not supposed to charge you anything. So it's free of cost for you. You just pay the official fees, $1,600 for a patent, $4,500 for a trademark. That is it. And you submit the certificate. The lawyer would submit, and he'll take the money from the government.
And
Even
the
if they come to
trademark
you.
for the other markets also.
Other markets also you get, but that is through a different scheme under MSME.
Okay.
So please register for MSME also. Udhyam registration. You get 5 lakhs patent for each patent granted in any other country. So you have 10 patents in 10 different countries. So you have 5 lakh. 50 lakhs coming from that. So you can very well. You can monetize your patent from the government itself, and then start in the commercial sense. So there are enough schemes to be utilized. You don't have to pay lawyers. You don't have to be scared of going to a lawyer. And they have put a list of lawyers. So that means these are people proficient in their domain. That is where the list has their name. So you're going to the right person there. So that is good, and you don't have to pay.
I don't think that. See, the amount of money that any of the brands spend is exorbitant on marketing and everything. So we don't mind spending money on the legal fees and everything else, but this has to be put in a right context, right? It has to somebody. I think it's more the education bit is missing big time.
That is true. And that is where the gap is, because you're not aware that this has to be done and aware whom to approach. Both the things are not there. Though the government has done a lot of sessions like these, but that is where the gap is for the industry and the professionals who come in to help. And it's not about making money for either side. It's about actually for the better.
Then you should make money, yaar. If you don't make money, if you don't survive, what we gonna do tomorrow, yaar? So you have to
But I
make
think
money.
it's lack of awareness. That's the catch.
I also learned it by doing. Like, I had a Korean manufacturer who wanted to enter India, and the first thing that they will ask, like, what is your trademark? If we have a technology and we can't transfer it to you in India, so how do you do it? I said, let's do a joint venture. So how do we do it? File patent together in India. And
That's
that is
very
a big
interesting.
differentiator.
That is
So I
super
learned
interesting, man.
I learned it just like 6 months ago while working with them. So it's on the job, and thankfully I got to know you, so I don't need to go. I was working with another firm, but it's not finalized. Maybe we move to you.
That firm is losing the business.
The best gets the
नहीं
business.
वो
I
देखेंगे
put the whole list.
पैसे कितने लोगे
It's not me, but-
लास्ट में आ जाएगा कितने पैसे लोगे बताओ विक्रांत सर.
No, I agree, because being a creative agency also, like, we work a lot with startups, and the first question is like, acha, apart from the service fee cost, all startups ask for, but the first thing is like, पहले क्या करना है? मैंने कहा story बनानी है brand की. अच्छा, okay. उसके बाद then they're like, and of course I'm like, you have a brand name? I have a brand name. We can get a logo done. And I'm like, is it trademarked? They're like, no. What does that mean? And I'm like, please go to SS Rana and get your logo, get your name trademarked, because then only it makes sense for any agency to spend time to work on a logo design itself. Now, more on the lines of branding. Let's talk about. I'm sure if you're not also aware, but I'll let you know that the brand name plays a very, very important role in terms of consumer perception, right? Just to give you an example, I don't know if you're aware of it in the news. There was a trademark suit between Forest Essentials and Baby Forest over the name Forest, right? So, which of course Baby Forest won because the consumer perception was that Baby Forest is a brand of Forest Essentials, given that it was all Ayurveda, the look and feel of the brand was the same, etc. So, in such spaces, what I want to know is that how we can differentiate a brand through a particular brand name, of course, without avoiding such kind of conflicts in the future. Because, and even from Saura's point of view, I want to speak a bit more about English dictionary names in the brand naming. Yeah.
So we've got Thrive Co.
Yes.
So there was some wise man who advised us on that. So I think it's not a very straightforward thing. I mean, it's so even after when you have a trademark in this in India, I mean, and you would want to go to a different country. The water's not very clear. I mean, you still speak to the best of the best lawyers. They'll say that we have a confidence index that you might get it. Okay, so it's still very murky in terms of what you're able to do. Second thing that we've understood is that this is far better, man. Huh? So the second thing that we have understood is as popular as you get, that's something that can save you. And I mean that's the protection. I mean, the more popular you are, the more business that you've done. So even while we're filing a trademark or anything, so some of the things that you're saying, कि हाँ आपने इसका invoice किया है क्या, आपने इसका ये किया है क्या, is this product somewhere there? So even for some of the ingredients that we make, we have to book the domain names. That hey, you know what, I have a domain name for this, okay, and I'm taking a trademark on this thing. I have to demonstrate there has been billings that have been done out there. Okay, so these are some of the things that we did not know. Eventually, you know, but still, I would say you need a lot of hand holding, even for bigger brands, to be in a position to say that if they're completely protected or not. Okay, I mean, there is a reason why the Ford Endeavor, right? It's not Ford Everest, what it is in the US. So yeah.
Thanks. So coming to the Forest Essential case, that's surprising in the sense they lost the Baby Essential. But the court held, it was on the anti-dissection rule that you can't dissect a part of it. You can say forest, because it's Forest Essential, I can protect both of them separately. So it is very, I think, important at the time of creating that trademark that that has happened twice, I think, in the recent past, where it was a two-word trademark, and this has happened. Under Armour also lost. They had an Armour trademark. Somebody had a two-word trademark where Armour was used, and Under Armour lost. They said because you can't dissect and claim right on both of them separately. So you need to be careful at the time of coining the trademark that it has to be not using generic words if possible. Though the trademarks, we have almost 30 lakh trademarks in India. It's difficult to get any marks now cleared. So even if you're not planning to use, keep filing those trademarks if you can do that. So the creation part is very essential there. Second is domain name. I think you've covered very well. So whenever you are creating a trademark, immediately go for a domain registration across at least .in, .co in for sure, and depending on your market, .com, yes, because there would be a lot of emails from China for you to buy domain names which are similar. So the minute you file an application, they would know, and they would start holding those domain names also. One other advantage of trademark is the custom recording. People don't know that if you have your goods coming from, or your similar products are coming from other countries, and you can register your trademark with the custom authorities in India. So if any shipment with the same trademark is coming into India, the custom can stop it. They have the power to stop it. So from neighboring countries, if somebody's sending some product which is which has your trademark, you can stop them through the custom also.
If
So
it's
one
the
more reason-
same name,
with the same name, yes.
but if it's two words and one of it, then it's like this
then
story.
it's it. So it has to be identical. Whatever you have filed, they can protect it. So, but at least there is a facility to utilize it. And one more reason why you should be filing and protecting your trademarks there. So, and sorry, one more last about the international filing. That's very critical, because right now you're looking at probably India, but global is where the stage is. We need to be looking at a little far-sighted in the sense of 2-3 countries where we think there is a market, and if we can afford or gradually, on a quarterly basis, we advise clients that every quarter file one country, block one country every quarter. So after a couple of years, you have a portfolio in different countries where you could, at least the house mark should be protected. Your main company name, the house mark should be protected there. And so when we are searching or when we are creating a trademark, it's imperative we also look at the translations, the transliterations, and any meaning and that local languages in there. For example, when Coke was launched in China, the sales of Coke went down. Nobody was buying Coke. And it happened, why? It meant in the Chinese script was a tadpole in a bottle. So it had a totally different connotation. So nobody was picking that. So you need to be aware of those local, innovations there in those countries. Similarly, there was an advertisement in the Middle East. There was a person, he's fresh and he drinks. There's a 3-part of the advertising campaign. One was he's fresh, very fresh. Second is he's having a drink. And third is lying on the floor. In the desert, sun is there and he's lying on the floor. And again, this was for a soft drink. And the soft drink, again, the sales went south. And then they asked the local what happened. They said, in the Middle East, you go from right to left. So the advertisement was, you are falling. It was other way around. You drink and you fall on the sand. So you need to be careful when you use those things, not just for trademark, but even for advertisement. That local issue has to be kept in mind.
I think that was my question in terms of how to look at international. So you've answered it pretty well.
You have to be sensitized to the local markets.
Yeah, absolutely. Like cultural nuances play a very, very important role. I mean, even as an agency, when we are working with a lot of clients, either in China and Middle East, we always have to get some local intelligence involved to understand what can be seen as derogatory, maybe, or risky, or culturally offensive. So all these aspects need to be taken into consideration. So even when you're working with agencies, make sure that they understand the need for not just creating IP for your brand itself, not in terms of marketing or branding. They need to be very vigilant also, like make sure that they have all their original creatives, be it the logo that they're creating for you, be it the packaging design. Make sure you have tight contracts with them, especially for indemnity, minus my agency. But it's important that things should be seen in terms of trademarking, IP, whatever, but from a global perspective, because even a lot of brands today are looking to expand globally tomorrow.
I'll just add here. So, in
Yeah.
fact, even if you're not filing outside right now, so WIPO database, go to the WIPO database, you can check for the whole world. Almost all major countries' trademark database would be there. It may not be totally up to date in real time, but you'll have a fair idea, should I be adopting this trademark? If in Korea, this is already there, because I'm in cosmetics, Korea would be leading there, so they would already have something there. So you can have that clearance done yourself easily from the WIPO website. So that is a good resource to look at.
Great. So I think we are a bit tight on the session now. Yeah. So we'll have any questions from the audience.
WIPO, I think it's called brand database or global brand database. There's one question.
Hi, good afternoon. My question is for Mr. Vikrant. I am also working on one of the brands. I can very well resonate with what Saurav said. I am working on a brand, and there are a lot of things that one has to think about, the enforcement of the trademarks or the patents you file, and you're just told by, your legal team that, it's quite difficult to enforce. I mean, you want to put your energies in, towards the, towards your brand, or do you want to spend time in doing all of that? So what would you have to say on that? Number two, like if you file a trademark and then, it's in a different class, does that matter?
As in your class, somebody
Else's class. Like if it's not from my class, but the name is already
unless
trademarked.
it is well known, you can do that.
Okay.
The whole idea of classification, we have
Right.
45 different classes,
Right.
is that you can, two brands can be in different classes. I could do
Okay.
like medicine or
Sure.
jewelry could be different,
Right.
whereas cosmetic would be different. So
Right.
three same trademarks could be in three different classes.
Classes, that's
unless
fine,
they
right?
are well known. For
Okay.
example, you pick up a L'Oreal. So
Mhm.
even if it is you're not doing stationery, but you can't use that for that because it's a well-known trademark.
Right.
So you can't do that.
Okay.
So coming
Sure.
to the first question of enforcement, so I always tell them, we don't look at a transactional kind of a thing that we are here to file a patent for you.
Mhm.
As a firm, our thing is it's a total handholding to advise you on a holistic manner. And
Right.
for that, it's important to know the client, know the industry and the competitors, what they're doing. And trademark, I would say, because you are investing your life in a trademark there, it's always better for the main house mark. You should start using once it is registered.
Okay.
So there were issues earlier that it would take around 2-3 years for a trademark to be registered, and I'm still not sure whether I should invest in that or not. So
Right.
there's a process for an expedited examination and grant of a trademark. So you pay around 40,000 for a company, 20,000 for a startup,
Mhm.
and you can hold the process can be expedited. So you have a clear idea in 6 to 12 months whether I'll get this trademark or not.
Okay.
From the office, there could be objections, or a third party could object.
Right.
So to have that clear peace of mind, it's important to invest that. You have a clarity that nobody else says, nobody can stop me.
Yeah.
Then you invest in that particular
Yeah.
trademark.
I
Sorry,
think
how long does it
initially-
take?
So if we go through this expedited route, it'll be around, I would say, 6 to 12 months again. But 6 months, you will have a very fair idea because at least the trademark office will give the objection within a month. So at least we know that trademark office is not objecting, but a third party can still object, which will be only clarified after that publication period. So we'll have some clarity, but not all the way up.
Okay, and just last questions. Like, how many names do you think a company should register when it comes to filing a trademark? Like, which are close in a particular category, let's say skincare.
I wouldn't, as a defensive, I wouldn't say, unless I've got my trademark, anybody using a similar, there's enough case law there that, they change a I to a E or, you can stop them. You need not file all of them there. I would rather say you invest in the sub-brands, trademark, the core trademark, and for
In the
each sub-brand, you need to protect them. And that, I would rather invest in that or filing variations of my own trademark. You have L'Oreal, if I take the example, changing the words, I wouldn't want to file that, because the courts can see that. The whole idea is it's a defensive thing. Somebody can change E to I or double E to Z or whatever. So if I go to court and there's enough factors to show that this was nullified by the other person, I can prevail. So I need not file for all the classes.
And same goes for the formulation, right? Like, you file a patent for a particular formulation, and if, other person can just subtract or add. So
that is why I said, when you file a formulation, it would be, if the optimum ratio is 10 to 90, we will not share that 10 to 90. We'll say 5 to 20 in the range. So he can't come to what is the actual thing. So, and he cannot use that because this is the range which is the best for you, and the exact thing only you would know. So you can still have a trade secret on that, but file a patent. So keep ranges, not exact when you file a patent.
No, but that you're talking about for a particular ingredient, the range.
The
I think
formulation.
she's asking if they add an ingredient or subtract an ingredient, becomes a different formulation,
So because
right?
then the whole efficiency would change if they add something.
Yeah.
You add a different product, then obviously it will change. They'll give
But you
come
can
with
add
different product.
0.01%, then that
or maybe
becomes
a
a
little
catch.
fragrance, or
So there's a practical. So one is legal and sab kuch hota hai. The other one is practical.
right.
Be more innovative in your supply chain. Okay. So when the guy is manufacturing, blend things somewhere else, then give them the end result to make the final product. Okay. So there you have to, from a protection standpoint, let's say I'll give you an example. So some of the products that we make, So we are so crazy that we make our own surfactants also. So that's like overtly obsessive. We make our own emollients as well. So we've got factories which make our emollients, okay, which the manufacturer never gets to know.
You
Okay,
can black box it.
Yeah, basically. So wherein we would do any of these things that, in case my third party manufacturer becomes slightly more greedy, he would not be able to, put me in a bad position. However, I know that the big ones, they don't do these kind of things, but I imagine that you are a startup or you're just starting off, you want to be smart in that front. Okay, keep things separate. Information isolation.
But I think, just to add to that, in terms of getting it manufactured, you'll get lots of smaller people also who'll do it. But I think go to somebody who has a reputation, has a history, so that in the long run you're kind of protected. Because a bigger player would not experiment because they've been in the business for a while, and
Then the
there's-
MOQ becomes the challenge. So
no, not necessary. Not necessary. Speaking even of our own company, while we may do the MNCs and the bigger brands, we do lots of startups as well. So we do the entire range. So I don't think MOQ has to be a challenge.
I
Depends
will
on the
add
product.
that I am in touch with around 8 to 12 labs in Delhi NCR who will do the smallest, like even 500 or 200 MOQs for you, and you have the whole control of the formula development with them. So the R&D is something that definitely most of the time brands don't do that, but manufacturer and these labs which cost sometimes 10,000, sometimes 80,000, they are able to do it for you.
yeah, but then with the manufacturers, you don't have the right to the entire formula. With the labs, you do have the right.
Yes.
For the,
So this is something like I have seen that the way we want to differentiate in the market, if with the formulation, this is a good bridge to be crossed, because it will be like you can always, how to say, after 1 year, if your consumer is done, okay, it's good, what new should be given to them. So with the help of these labs, you can make a variation of your own product.
Thank you very much.
Hello, good afternoon. So when I was starting off in 2018, I wanted to come up with a very innovative product in the market. So I saw a product in Indonesia and then I wanted to have it here.
What's your name and the brand that you've made?
Abhishek, and my brand name is Sanify.
Nice.
Okay. So I went to a lot of third-party manufacturers, and eventually I got to know that without having a name in the market, nobody is willing to innovate for you.
Not true at all. I think that may have been the case earlier. Talking even about our own company, we used to first do the bigger companies and contract manufacturing and bigger volume private label. But for quite a few years, I think for at least 5-7 years now, lots of D2C brands, new startups and all come, and we don't have an issue with that. So we have factories which do very small volume to factories which do very huge volumes.
Even today, if I go and ask for that product, they tell me that you give me the formulation and then we will try to copy it.
Speak to me after the event.
Sure. And then I have a question for Vikrant sir. So I was trying to, getting this trademark. I wasn't able to find a single English word that has a meaning and that can go with my category. So I had to come up with something that has no meaning so that I can trademark it. That's why it is Sanify, which has no meaning. So that's another thing. Plus, I tried to register on Startup India. Then they asked me in the application form that I need to have an innovative idea to be a member of Startup India, which I didn't have because the innovative idea that I had, nobody wanted to develop it. So I was like, okay, let's start with what market is doing and make a name for myself, and then I'll go and go to somebody and be able to develop that product. So I had no innovative idea. They did not allow me to register. Then I went to an advocate through that list that you are talking about. So he told me, okay, I'll charge money and give you an innovative idea, and then you can register for Startup India. So that's another challenge where we cannot leverage the things that are given to us by government.
Innovative idea need not be that you have worked that idea. Startup is that I have an idea in mind and it will work. So on the basis of that, they will give you a certificate.
But then I did not have anything in hand, so formulation would have been given by the third-party manufacturer. I am just somebody who had done MBA from a B school and worked for a company, and I know that I have an idea and I can sell it.
No, but you started with that I had an innovative product. You know, when you started speaking, you said innovative product.
Yeah, but I did not have the expertise to develop.
Abhishek, what are you doing now? Abhi, the company is there, not there, hai na?
Yeah.
So you did well, no? I mean, you figured it out yourself, right?
I just wanted to add to, you said I saw something in Indonesia and brought it here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for everyone, you know, if you are taking something from outside India, and if that company has a patent in India, they can come after you. So we need to be mindful.
So,
One. Second is the patent what you file in India. So there's a concept of a novelty, that it has to be new, innovative, it has to be new. And that concept, novelty, is a worldwide novelty. That means if somebody has done it in Indonesia, you can't file a patent for that in India.
I'm not talking about that I want to copy the same product. I wanted to have another product,
Right.
but with the same look and feel.
So, I mean, that. And
If you, may I add?
yeah, please.
If you don't have the innovation around the product, you can talk about the application.
Yeah, that is how you have to show it.
I think there's a gap. He did not have an idea. He wanted that Nalini would give him an idea. So there is some part of his life Nalini did not entertain him. Okay? So
No,
that's
not
where
exactly
the
the
gap is.
I still have the product with me right
Okay.
now.
No. So I think this is, you have to be, more than anything else, Abhishek, you have to understand. You can put a Nalini in a corner saying that ki, jab main chota tha tumne mujhse baat nahi kiya. But you got to understand that she's running a business and she's got to focus on what is good for her, and you got to focus on what's good for you. Okay. So the couple of things that work there is not their moral responsibility, but your ability to build a rapport and visualize the dream for them that they're going to make more money if they listen to you. Okay. So that goes with.
First, the story has to fly with us.
Yeah. So you have to, you say that I have come to you, now it's your obligation to give me an idea.
No, I did not ask for the idea.
I think
just
we have to
wanted-
just intervene here, sorry, that, with the interest of time, we can take some more questions. Thank you. We can always take this offline.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Nitin Gulati. I'm from IQVIA and we work closely with brands, specifically in the personal care space. My question to you is more from marketing standpoint. What do you think is the right channel to launch an innovation? Is it a small end brand or a startup should largely be focusing on an e-com specific launch, or should they actually think from the larger standpoint, from the general trade standpoint? Or, there is a merit in thinking of taking a help of experts or skincare specialists who can actually help them drive consumer adoptions in the initial phase, and, then they can go to the market for long-term adoption. And second part of this question would be, there are a lot of terminologies in this space which are evolving. Earlier it used to be a makeup, then it became cosmetic, then, skincare came into place, derma, and now derma cosmeceuticals or cosmeceuticals coming into place. How do you think that brands ensure that right essence of each of these terminologies is being perceived by the consumers? Or is there a different, how do you differentiate?
Can you repeat the question?
Okay.
But I can.
I think
Okay.
Nikita can answer, sir.
तो सबसे पहले बता कौन है तुम्हारा client? Okay.
Yeah,
I think from a marketing standpoint, there's no right or wrong. Okay. iCubes, you said, right?
IQVIA.
iCubes, you guys do email marketing.
More consulting.
You do consulting. Okay. So I think there is, everybody has a thesis about their core audience. Okay. If my audience is, let's say typically for Thrive Co, I would say our typical audience is not a young, I would say everybody's young, but then I would want to categorize my core audience being in the 30 to 50 sort of a range. Okay. I have to identify where are these guys. Are these guys on Instagrams? Are these guys on WhatsApp? Or are these guys on any other channel? So that will be my go-to strategy where my audience is. Okay. So there is no generic idea that, hey, you know what? If you do this, it'll just happen. Okay. So I know a lot of guys who have a lot of niche beauty brands where they only market within Gurgaon. Okay. They only market within Gurgaon through pamphlets. They only do pamphlets and they will do word of mouth, and they would not even take you up as a customer if you have not come in from references. So this as a question is going to be a very subjective one. The generic answer is most of the large guys who more commercialized, majority of the money is going to Facebook, man. It's going to Facebook and the Instagrams. That's where the newer brands are being discovered. It changes from time to time, unless Facebook gets banned or whatever. So it's going to be
depends
like
on
that.
the age group, like he's saying, who your TG is. Like if it's very young, then probably Instagram is probably better. Slightly older, maybe Facebook is still relevant. So depends exactly what your target audience is. But social media is definitely impactful.
No, of course. The second part to the question was, of course, this terminologies in the cosmetic market has evolved, right? So how are brands ensuring that the consumers are getting the right essence of these? So whether it's a product into dermacosmeceutical versus a regular makeup or a cosmetic product.
No, we don't even think like that. We don't even think like that. We think in LTV terms. Okay, lifetime value of a customer. Education is extremely expensive. Okay, he has to tell my name properly. अरे वो अभी भी thrift को बुलाता है यार, ठीक है? Thrift को बुलाता है, thrifty बुलाता है, जो भी बुलाता है मुझे. It doesn't matter. What I look at is if I have got a customer by spending this much amount of money in my cohort, how long the customer is going to be with me and how much more business is he going to give me. Okay, so typically when we are looking at our customers, we don't jargonize them. Okay, we look at results. We say this has to make a difference in your life. Okay, it doesn't matter what you call it. Okay, so we don't ever get into that thing he has to understand me well. Nah.
Every target group has their own lingo. So
Yeah.
the target group, you will find already what they are following. If they are very evolved consumers, they will use dermacosmeceuticals. Others will say skin care hai, body cream hai, body lotion hai, cold cream hai. So if you have finalized your target group, let them be in their language. And once they know you for some time, we can go over the consumer education
And
part.
I think internationally also, I think because people are far more exposed and everything is on your fingertips now, everything is on your phone. So whatever buzzwords that come in, sometimes they're the flavor of the season only and sometimes they sustain. So it just depends what works.
So I'll give you a cute example. So if anything that cleans, me and Pranav are gonna call it surfactant. But तुमको तो फेस वॉश सुनना है, तुमको सुनना है ये शैम्पू है, हाँ, तुमको सुनना है कि ये बॉडी वॉश है, हाँ, पीएच बैलेंस हो रहा है, हमारे को सर्फेक्टेंट है, हम लोग तो भाई फेस वॉश से भी नहा लेते हैं, हाँ. So I think let's look at the end result, what you want to achieve. Okay, I think it's not so much about कि इसको समझाना है मुझे.
Yeah, just to add also to that, sorry. So when we also work a lot on packaging design, this is one question or one point of debate with all the clients we have in terms of like FOP. FOP, किसी भी marketplace पे कहीं पे भी, it's the first thing that the client's gonna see, right? Or consumer's gonna see, sorry. So the benefit and the efficacy is what matters the most. So even if you can create your product names, even if you can present the copy of your ingredients in that way, that's going to work for you. Simplify it for the customer at the end of the day because you're competing with hundreds of the brands out there, right? Okay. So I think finally, okay. So it was an engaging session. Thank you to all of you who have come here. Thank you for your patience. We are all available in case you want to ask any questions post the event. And I hand over the mic to Shushmita. And thank you all the panelists also for your time.
Thank you so much, Nikita. Like she mentioned, indeed a very interactive and very intriguing session, I must say. At some point, I remember Saurabh did mention that, what about the education part of it? How do we fill in the gaps, right? So I'm quickly going to pitch in there that, that's where CMPL comes in. The reason why we have Speak Knowledge series is to have this interaction and to know a little more. Just for an example, just a session before this where we were talking about FSSAI and the new policies. What do you do when you have the policies and it's renewed within 3 months' time? What do you do that? How do you get that exchange? Keeping that in mind, CMPL Expo also created this impact circle wherein we talk about the strategies and networking and also discuss the challenges that we are facing. But indeed, a very, very interactive session. Nikita, incredible job. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together. We need to thank the panel who've just creatively and in a very light way put in so much very important details in front, including the WIPO database, which we did not know of. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. May I quickly invite Hazel onto the stage. Hazel Menezes from CMPL, who is going to present the memento to our distinguished speakers. Huge round of applause for the moderator of the session, Nikita Rustagi. Thank you so much. This is a small token of love and appreciation, a memento. And once again, requesting Hazel to present a memento to Nalini. Nalini, thank you so much for sharing your personal experience and such thoughtful ideation from your end. We now present a memento to Pranav. Thank you so much, Pranav. In a very candid way, you had put in such very serious notes across, and thank you. It's really been very enlightening for us. Thank you. And of course, Vikrant, a big thank you. A lot of things that we did not know of. Of course, we probably have to have a complete session on the formulation, trademark, and patenting. So much we need to know. Thank you once again. And Saurabh, thank you for making things so light, candid, and yet putting the very important points across to all of us, but in a very candid way. Thank you once again. May I quickly request you all to kindly step forward for a group photograph to capture it in our lenses and of course in our memories. Thank you once again. Hazel, may I request you to kindly join us on stage for this group photograph. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been incredible. I know there are many questions. I really think if we had a little more time, we could have taken the discussion forward. But here is the catch. We can always catch our speakers, our thinkers offline and have and can continue with the discussion. Without any further delay, we now slip into our next session, and I would request you all to kindly be seated with us. This is a session on packaging, sustainability, and recycling with NIFTEM.